Very good afternoon.
Very good afternoon.
Yeah, respected my fellow members, Professor N.R. Parasuraman. Professor Parasuraman, all of you know, he is known for writing finest books in the area of finance, managerial accounting and finance. And another esteemed pen member, Dinesh Kumarji. Dinesh Kumarji was senior to me at IIT Bombay. He was my senior and he is the chairperson of two-year MBA program at IIM Bangalore and also data center and analytics lab. Professor Dinesh Kumar has written number of cases in the new generation areas analytics. And we also have with us Prabhat Pankaj. Prabhat Pankaj, he is in the area of economics and also, about his institute, the case has been written by IIM Ahmedabad, the kind of work Pankaj has done. So that is great to highlight. And our international panel member, EFMD, Dr. Zeljko, Sevic. He is again a professor of management accounting and corporate governance and performance management, former dean and advisor to the board of Malaysia. And he has traveled a lot and written number of papers and articles. I must say that this esteemed panel, 4 members, and we have 45 minutes. All the 4 members, they are accomplished academician. Rather, I must say that each one of them, they have a great corporate touch. I can say that strong industry connect. Each one of them, have Dinesh, I think he worked aircraft industry when he was working in Exeter. I think he has done a lot of work in Exeter related when he was in Exeter aircraft industry, and he also happens to be the editor of operations, Journal of Operations Management when he was in IIM Kolkata. And similarly, Professor Parasuraman wrote 8 books, out of it 6 are single-handedly he has written, and he is also one of the international figure. And he is since 2019 he was taken on the board of EPAS by EFMD. So he is accomplished academician. So all the 4 people, they have great credentials, and they also one or other way, they each one of them, they are heading the organization, particularly business school. So it is a great opportunity to listen and from them, as well as take the insight related to Indian cases, learning from global perspective. Just 2 minutes I will take. I will talk about Indian cases, learning from global perspective, just to set a context. Learning from global perspective means the moment you say case, people look towards Harvard. And in India, the moment if you say case, people look towards IIM Ahmedabad. Now, Harvard was the first one to start cases, but today, 21st century, when we talk about the cases, whatever the Harvard cases, we talk about 20 to 30 pages. And students, natives of the digital world, so that such a lengthy cases reading is one of the challenge. And also, since the cases are very long and so many tables and charts and all the kinds of things, so it also sometimes, if I say so regarding the perfection, it also deviate from the focus for decision making. And foreign cases in India, particularly, I was listening to the last few minutes regarding the inaugural session, foreign cases in India. So probably we Indians believe in seeing is believing. So foreign cases, the company name and the activities and product, many times we have to imagine. We never see, we never heard, and we cannot see the context in full extent. So those were some of the challenges when we teach the global cases to India. But when it comes to contextual issue, because contextual means there are three important things when you are writing a case or when you are dealing with the case in the class. So one is a micro context within the organization, understanding the history of that organization. Second is the meso context. Meso context is all about, who are your competitor and supporter and what kind of other environment is there and stakeholders. That is all about. Macro is all about the law of land and the governance and other things which is beyond the boundaries. So these three contexts are extremely important when we are dealing with the case. So when it comes to Indian cases, if you look at the Indian cases, then it is extremely important that Indian cases, when you look, people know that fairly. The moment you take the name of the company, all students within no time they can connect, because many times in newspaper, performance, balance sheet, one or other way they come across, and they can, instead of imagination, they can see the real world of that particular company. So that is one advantage of Indian case over the case abroad. Second one, while writing, if the Indian case is there, say for example, whether it is Bangalore or Mysore or even Nagpur or Delhi, if you are teaching a case, then in that case, what happens? You can bring the actor of the case to the classroom, either through video conferencing or they directly come. One of the actor will come and address, and case is written on that particular actor. For example, I am Nagpur, is located in the hub of, in the heart of industry. There is a multi-product, a special economic zone. So left side is Lupin, right side is AIMA, and there are 80 and odd industries surrounded. So suppose if you write a case on Lupin pharma company, then the pharma company CEO or one of the actor or marketing manager come into the classroom. We can bring the industry into the classroom and they address, and they can real life situation and experience this year the students. So that kind of experience we cannot get from the foreign case, because you can't bring the actor here. And also all the three contexts, micro, meso and macro context, you can't deal in the classroom, because we ourselves don't know the out of three in detail. In 360 degree we will not be knowing. So that is the important benefit of Indian cases. So the context is extremely important. Context is key in case, and all the cases finally we are dealing with dilemma, and also we also come out with some kind of decision. So that is why knowing them well, a context is extremely important, and that is where Indian cases, teaching in India, may make a better advantage over Indian foreign cases teaching in India. Somebody was asking a question. I think this is one aspect. I think our experts definitely deal with that. And Indian cases, again, focusing on context. Context. Indians are known for context, and Europeans, Americans are known for concept and models. So, and today, because of disruption, context is changing very often like a water, flowing water. So that is why to teach a contextual kind of leadership, leaders have changed, but leadership style has to change. If it doesn't change, then we will not survive. Every context, new style of leadership is required. So that is where a contextual leadership, when it comes, probably entire world should learn from Indians for contextual leadership. So that is why future belongs to Indian cases. And in Indian cases, I must say that future belongs to short cases, caselets. Future also belongs to briefcase. If not short case, 2 to 3 page, briefcase 6 to 8 page. So it is a very handy briefcase. And you need not to give everything in the case. Probably you can give the link, the company website, balance sheet, figure, vision, mission. You need not to write the Harvard Americans write all the things in the case and make 30, 40 page. But it is already there in the company website. You just give the link, vision, you refer so and so, give the link. So probably same 30, 40 case, you can put into 6 to 8 page. If you, and students can go and refer, and when they go to the website, they learn many things and they see the context in toto 360 degree. That is a greater advantage if you give the reference than giving that into the case. So these are some of the my initial observation. With this, since we have very less time, I just request my panel members to give their 5 to 6 minutes, their view, Indian cases, learning from global perspective, because it is extremely important, because India is going to take a leadership role in 4 to 5 years from China. So when global leadership will come to India, that point of view, Indian cases learning from global perspective is going to play a very, very significant role. From that perspective, I request all my 4 esteemed panel members give their perspective for 5 to 6 minutes, and then we can take question answers from the audience. So may I request Professor Parasuraman, my great friend, and we know each other for many years, and he is known as a finance professor as well as case. I think Professor Parasuraman, now your turn. Professor Parasuraman.
Sir, I think he's disconnected.
He was there, while addressing. Then may I request the second speaker?
Yes, sir. Please. Meanwhile, I'll make a call to him.
Yeah. So may I request Professor Dinesh Kumar, Professor and Chairperson, MBA Business Analytics and Chairperson Data Center and Analytics, and also he is a Chairperson of Career Development Services. He is closely in touch with the many corporates. So may I request Professor Dinesh Kumar?
Okay, thank you. Let me try to share. I made a small presentation. Yeah, so I'm just sharing my PowerPoint. Just to give you some background, in around 2008-9, because we talked about Harvard and all that, around 2008-9, Harvard Business Publishing approached few schools because they realized that they wanted cases from different geographies, not purely from American perspective, because that may not work in all countries and all geographies and so on. So they approached IIM Bangalore, and IIM Bangalore became the first institute from India to start publishing at Harvard Business Publishing cases. So today they take about 3 cases from 3 schools: IIM Bangalore, IIM Ahmedabad, and ISB. So there are 473 case studies from these 3 schools: 233 from IIM Bangalore, 126 from IIM Ahmedabad, and 114 from ISB. What I'm planning to do is I'm going to talk about how to write. Just 1 minute, somebody is annotating, so we should stop that. I don't know who is monitoring that. You can see somebody is scribbling on the screen. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, so I'm going to talk about how do you write, popular cases, right? When I say popular cases, in Harvard, when you go through the case studies, there are many cases which are labeled as popular cases, right? And few of my cases are labeled as popular. For example, this is a case on Big Basket. This is product recommendations at Big Basket. There's another case on package pricing at Mission Hospital. Again, it's labeled as popular case. And also there is another case which is on ID dosa butter, right? So if you look at why these cases are popular, why do they become popular? So let me tell you why cases become popular. The case has to be very close to the problems faced by probably even the students. For example, in case of Big Basket, it talks about, can you predict whether a customer has forgotten something or not using machine learning algorithm? Now, the forgetfulness when it comes to grocery purchase is very, very common. One statistic says 60% of us forget at least 1 or 2 items. So is there an algorithm which can actually help these kind of companies to companies such as Big Basket, which is an online grocery store, to predict that? Now, why is it important? If they can do it, it makes a huge difference to their revenue. So the students quickly understand why such kind of prediction is important. And this is one of the cases which sells all over the world. And that's why it is labeled as popular case at Harvard site. The second one is, again, something which anybody can relate. This is on package pricing admission hospital. This is talking about a pricing problem in a hospital. So can you predict what will be the treatment cost for a patient even before admitting? Now, pricing problem is a very, very common for any industry. For example, if I have to give a relation to other industry, let us say you're going to a restaurant and they are providing buffet and they fix the price. How much is the buffet? But here we are also giving a fixed price, but then the company, or in this case, hospital, is not in control because there are so many uncertainties. Whereas restaurants can fix the menu. Here, you don't know how long it will take to treat the patient, how much material will be used in terms of drugs and other kind of tests they had to do to treat the patient. So under a lot of uncertainty, how do you come up with a pricing? And the third one is very popular when it comes to logistics and supply chain kind of problems. All of us are probably using dosa batter, idli dosa batter at home, which is made by ID. And in Mumbai, they have, when we were writing this case, there are about 4,000 outlets. Now, how do you predict the demand for 4,000 outlets? Because they are selling a short shelf life product, which lasts for only 7 days. If it doesn't sell within 7 days, it is going to come back to the factory. And that's a huge waste. And also, you have to take care of the reverse logistics, and you don't want to waste so much of the atta that you manufacture in the form of crossing the shelf life. So if you look at these 3 cases, there is a kind of common thread to this. The common thread is that the students can immediately relate to the problem, right? And also the faculty who are supposed to teach this, they can easily connect. They don't have to struggle to tell the student the context and so on, because it makes their life easier, but it also helps them to teach specific concept. So when we talk about case, many people mistake case as an example, right? It is not an example. It's basically a dilemma the protagonist faces, and it could be a very, very interesting dilemma, right? So we are talking about an important issue to be tackled by a company. So it cannot be an example, say that the company did this. Okay, it's a 1-minute story to tell in the class. It plays its role, but it's not a dilemma which the students have to work on to resolve it, right? And you have to have data to tackle. May not be always, but in my case, at least I write AI, ML kind of cases, always comes with the data, and it has to be well structured. And the relevance of the topic is very, very important. It should sit well to the curriculum that you are planning for that particular course. And Professor just mentioned it should be very, short case or brief case. Ideally, if you want to write a popular case, it should be less than 10 pages. In fact, when we started this publication with Harvard Business Publishing, initially we struggled because we were used to cases 30 pages, 40 pages, and so on. And this is one of the reviews. This is very, very important for you guys who plan to write case. They said that we don't want cases which are more than 10 pages. This is coming from the head editor or chief editor of Harvard Business Publishing, right? So ensure that, because we try to put so many unnecessary things which may not be relevant for the topic or the theme that you are trying to teach. So ensure that it is very, very condensed, brief, ideally less than 8 pages, but we allow with exhibits and all 10 pages. In fact, today, whenever somebody writes case for Harvard Business Publishing from IIM Bangalore, one of the criteria is that it should be less than 10 pages. Now, the opening paragraph of your case should be very, very important. So the actual, because if you look at the students may be reading 3-4 cases for 1 day's class. If they have, let us say, 3 sessions in a day, it may be 3 cases. Now, they skim through the paper. They don't have time to read about the history of the company and all, because they may know the history, right? So they want to understand, okay, what is the problem that particular company is dealing with in the first paragraph itself. If the first paragraph is not interesting, then the students may not even go and read the complete case, and it becomes a very, very, for professor or the teacher, it becomes a very disappointing experience, because students are not prepared, and you go to the class, you don't know what to do in the class because none of them are prepared and you have nothing to discuss, right? So it's very, very important. And you have to highlight who is the main protagonist, what is the nature of the problem, when did this take place, where did the case take place, what is the organization, why did the issue problem arise, or what is the relevance. So this should come, if not in the first paragraph, or at least in the first page. And I don't want to go through this, because these are some of the things that you should take care when you write a case. Now, remember, the most important thing is not the case itself. So the cases are evaluated by the quality of teaching note. Why? Because every instructor, when he or she decides to use a case in her or his course, the first thing they look for is the teaching note. How rich is the teaching note, right? I have cases 4 pages, but teaching note 35 pages. The reason why it is 35 pages is I don't know the kind of topics that, because each of these cases can be taught in many different courses. And so we create enough material in teaching note so that when an instructor takes that case, he or she has enough need to spend 90 minutes in the class, right? So the most important thing is actually teaching note. Obviously, you have to make the case attractive, but teaching note plays a very, very important role. So with this comments, I'll stop. And if you have questions, probably I can take them up later. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dinesh Kumar. Thank you very much. Very nicely. I think you have comprehensively covered about, the short as well as how it should encompass and how teaching note is very, very important. So we'll come back questions, sir, once all panel members cover. Now, may I request Professor N.R. Parasuraman, you can give your view and then we will move to the next.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Metri. After the wonderful introduction by you and Dr. Dinesh's excellent small presentation, I am just wanting to add a couple of more points, and then, of course, we'll hear the other panelists. The first thing is about, the first aspect about writing a case or teaching a case would be the pedagogical objectives should be very, very clear, in the sense that are we going to teach concepts from the case, or are the concepts already taught, and from the concepts that have been taught, we are going to come to wider decision making. So it all depends on whether we are teaching the first year MBA or the second year MBA. If the first year, mostly the students are new to managerial concepts. So one way would be to have a problem situation, and from the problem situation, a question arises in their mind as to how to solve it, and then the solution itself is the concept which actually is driven home. So this is one of the avowed advantages of a case method, because through a practical situation, people try to learn concepts. It has got its advantages in the sense that it immediately shows them that it is what they're trying to learn is very practical and very relevant. However, the disadvantage is that many times people feel that the same identical situation will never again be faced by them. So the actual use of concepts may not be driven home. So one approach that some people follow would be to have a gleaning of the concepts done first and then go into the cases proper, so that what happens is they're able to apply very well. Be that as it may, when we talk about Indian cases, I don't think there's any specific category of Indian cases, because India is also quite global these days. And almost all the companies have multinational dimensions. So we are talking about a multinational perspective, which actually brings me to the next point, which is that cases should be as cross-functional as possible. If they just confined to one small thing, then it has very limited use, in my opinion. But it has to be having a cross-functional perspective, which means that the discussion possibility is high. So more than the conclusion, more than the facts, it is a discussion possibility which makes case rich. So if you look at the experiences of many faculty all over the country and even abroad, is that many times we also face the situation of students not being properly prepared. They don't read the case properly, which means that the onus is on the faculty to run the case. The second aspect would be that sometimes they read the case, they treat it as a problem and come to the solution very fast. Again, if a whole 1.5 hour session or a 2-hour session has been allocated for the case, it gets over in 15 minutes because it comes to the solution, which is actually not the intention of the case. The actual solution is only one thing, but the discussion aspect is the most important thing. So what the faculty would need to encourage in class would be the discussion aspect, and probably the evaluation also has to be based on that. This aspect has to be kept in mind while writing a case, because the case should be rich in so many aspects which can be discussed in class, so many sub-concepts which can be discussed in class, and situations which can be discussed in class. I also agree with Dr. Metri when he said that there's no need for cramming the case with all the facts, because many times we can always give links and make it succeed, or leave it to the imagination of the students to mine data and get it. And that will be probably a better way of doing it. But many times what happens is we have situations where cases are run with groups of students. And when that happens, invariably, the complaint from many faculty is that all the students do not work uniformly. So we have to also have probably a system by which they also give some small write-ups which are relevant. So that's one aspect. Coming back to the aspect about writing the case and making it interesting, while Dr. Dinesh was giving about the introductory aspect and how that should be actually immediately appealing, I would also say that it should, throughout the case, contain so many issues which can actually digress into other areas and make the discussion very lively. So it's actually discussion more than the conclusion that is most important. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Parasuraman. Thanks a lot, and giving the insights in adding to what Professor Dinesh said. Now, may I request Professor Prabhat Pankaj?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Very good afternoon, everyone. The Chairperson, Dr. Metri, our fellow colleague, Dr. Dinesh, Dr. Parasuraman, Dr. Sevic, my thanks to Dr. Raj Agarwal for this opportunity, AIMA. So wonderful opportunity, sir, to express my view. I have 4 points to make, and I would like to start with what Dr. Metri has said is about the context. So I'm going to bring in here my Harvard experience of being in the class with the cases being dealt there by big professors. What I found over there is the context, which is central to every case that is being executed. So I can remember Professor Freeman, the president of university, and he was sitting at the back of the entire audience, and we were not aware about that Professor Freeman was there when the case, which was actually written on Professor Freeman, the dialogue between the president and the vice president, how it goes and how they can go along, was being carried out. And Professor Freeman was present in the classroom, and the participants actually gave left and right their views on the cases. And after all the discussions took place, then Professor Freeman was introduced to all the participants, 120 deans and directors and presidents over there. And it was so amazing to see. It was the kind of experience that you can get as a participant in such an environment where the context is established and the protagonist is present in the classroom. We cannot actually compare it. And that's the joy of actually dealing with the case. If the case is not able to bring the participants on the edge of their chair, I think there is something wrong in execution of the case. So, and one way to bring the participants on the edge of their chair is to bring the context. And therefore, what we started at Jaipuria, it's a very small effort that we're doing. We have brought out an anthology of local cases, that is cases rooted in the state of Rajasthan. and we have brought out a collection of leadership cases taken from the government department, taken from the industry, taken from the NGOs, and we have brought it out. And this gives us the opportunity to bring the context. Students are well aware of what Dr. Metri has rightly said. The students, they know what problems they're dealing with. They can relate it with that. They can see the protagonist in the classroom, and that makes the joy of case teaching much. So that's the first point I would like to make. Second is, it's all about how you train your faculty to teach the cases. Not every faculty who are very good writer of cases are also, by default, best teachers to teach cases. I'm sorry to say that, but it's a matter of training. And there is a lot of training that is required in how you actually deal with the cases. And when I look at what is the state of the training in teaching cases, I find that it's not very high and not a priority area of the colleges. And especially the big institutions are doing it, but probably the institutions who are in the mid segment or low segment, I don't see it's a priority area. That's the second point I would like. Third point I would like to make is the incentive, because you look at NRIF ranking, you look at NBA call for the NBA calls, what kind of data they are asking for the research and case studies, look for other ranking agencies, ranking, where is the case figuring over there? So I had hard time to find out where to fit in this Rajasthan cases, and does it really bring some points in NRF or in NBA? I didn't find anything of that sort. And then the faculty comes back and asks, what is the benefit of writing? Is the institution getting some benefit? Is the faculty getting some benefit in promotion? Is the faculty getting benefits being counted towards the research? Not so much of articulated policies are there with the institutions at the same time from the regulator side. And therefore, this is one very big area that all of us have to put our brains together and think about it. So we can set some standards, of course, to bring in some rigor in writing the cases, but focusing on ABDC and Scopus. I don't know, even 10% of those Scopus and ABDC, I'm not against ABDC and Scopus publications, but are coming back to the classroom. I don't see that happening. So if the ABCD and ABDC and Scopus publications are coming back to the classroom, I'll be a happy person, but that's not happening. So where is the impact of this research happening on the society, on the learning of the students? But the impact of case study is direct on the learning. So therefore, it makes a case for thinking about a lot of incentive that we can create here and there. That's the third point. The fourth point I would like to make, the case is also about the infrastructure that you have. So do you have a classroom which is conducive enough for conducting the case? Not every classroom is a proper classroom for conducting a good case. So if you really want to conduct a good case and make students learn and come on their age and talk about these cases even after the class gets over, talk about the professors, the way he has actually put in the cases, and the way he has actually ignited the issues, the way he contradicted the issues, the way the students actually, fought with each other on different arguments. If all these have to happen in the classroom, without which cases is not of much use in the classroom, we need to have that kind of infrastructure. So do we have the classroom conducive enough for that? That's the point I want to ask and raise here. So these are the 4 points. On top of that, just one suggestions that I would like to give is, can we also have in the body like AIMA is very suitable for this. Can we also have some list to be brought out every year, which says that, okay, these are the 100 top Indian cases, of the year, or something like that. And that will be a good enough incentive for people to look forward to see their names in the top 100 cases that they have written in that particular year. We can develop some criteria, of course, but, and if this initiative is taken by AIMA or some other body, Dr. Metri can take this initiative. I'll be very happy to be part of the team to work on this idea of 100 cases per year, top 100 Indian cases per year. All it requires is to make our students a self-learner, and which is a pain for all of us as a teacher. And we all know there are many issues related to that. And Ahmedabad has written a case study on us precisely because how we blended the formal and non-formal learnings together to engage students in the classroom and also outside the classroom. The simple statistics that goes is as follows. it says that how you and I learn in our lifetime is about 70%. It's the research, that is what the research says all over the world, 70% outside the classroom and 30% inside the classroom. But how we prioritize the teaching in our institution is just the other way around. We actually take 70% inside the classroom and 30% outside the classroom. So, the self-learning is a big question for all of us. And unless we try and make students self-learner, the success of a case study cannot be written very well. So that's the point I would like to end up with. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Prabhat. Thank you very much. You brought out, I think, two important points. One is local, vocal, and global. Writing the local cases around the business school and making them, and also since people are in and around, they can see and they can believe, and also they can understand the company's culture, value, moral, which is not possible from Harvard case or even abroad case. But people can see the culture, the moral, the value foundation of that company. And when they come and listen from such actor in the class, I think that makes a difference. And also how to take our cases to global, it is the best example. And I'm sure, I think some of the points you highlighted about top 100 cases and good suggestions, great. So thank you very much for the good inputs. Now, may I request our international panel member, Dr. Zeljko Sevic, so who is the former dean and advisor to board of University Utara, Malaysia. So Professor Zeljko Sevic.
Hello.
Yeah.
I can't switch on my video, so well, it's working now. Perfect.
Yeah, it is working.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you for a very nice introduction, and to the colleagues who put a very nice stage for me just to put a cherry on the cake. So thank you very much for your hard work, making my easier. And what I would like to say is really my experience in Malaysia with cases and give you our case. University of Utara, Malaysia is a Malaysian management university. We don't have any other disciplines except law and politics and a bit of science supporting really a management education. And our past vice chancellor with whom I worked, Honorable Dato Sri Mustafa Isak, being a Harvard graduate, he thought that bringing cases into the classroom was a good idea. And to that extent, he was a driving force at the university to bring the Harvard cases. However, over time, the colleagues have accepted the invitation and I think a bit of nudging to start writing Malaysian cases. And that was an inspiring experience. So we would rather go for a few cases that would be local. And I think from that experience and introduction of cases into the school, I can tell you that our biggest challenge is, what model do you accept? Do you go for a full Harvard model where you really use cases as pedagogical tool, exclusive pedagogical tool? Or do we use the cases really to support the classical education exchange? And for us, it was the latter rather than former. And that generally works. If you are working in a school that is not elite and the top level where the students will be highly motivated, I think that blended model where the cases are just one of the instruments is very useful. Personally, I think that if you allow me from a Malaysian perspective to reflect on what the colleagues have said, I think that there is a market first in the West for cases coming from emerging economies and emerging markets, as the colleagues have shown by being able to place their cases on Harvard Business School or Harvard Business Publishing database. Similarly, you have in a European case clearinghouse as well as an option. And you will find many cases that are not European or not Western. And I think in the many disciplines, especially in leadership and I think HR, the cases coming from other jurisdictions are very welcome. Being the dean in 4 or 5 countries, I can tell you that managing people may be in the textbook the same, but when it comes to the groundwork, managing in UK or managing in Wales and Scotland in UK and managing in Malaysia was totally different when it comes to personal interchanges. So I personally think that your choice has been right, going for cases that are very local. And I think the colleagues have already shed the light that probably it's easiest to work with the government bodies because they are not very worried about the competition. Because we had the same problem in Malaysia that when you approach the companies and you say, well, let's write a case about you, they believe that the moment there is a case out, they lose a competitive edge. They don't see the cases as possible marketing or promotional tool, unfortunately. And I think to that extent, working with the industry and cultivating them to accept that cases are good for both sides is something that we should explore. And I sympathize with the colleagues who said that quite often the system that we have at the moment of rewarding academics or even recognizing institutions is not really conducive to case studies. Even if you do a research cases, not necessarily just teaching cases, it will be a bit difficult to publish. In UK, with different research exercises, they try to move away from that and try to bring the cases into the context of impact. And I think to that extent, there is a better climate at the moment, but we'll need another research exercise to see to what extent really that worked. So I think working on your government ministry in charge of education or state ministries of education as well is an important thing. Inducing the colleagues and being. In Malaysia, we would, as a dean, I would reward people with a certain amount of money the moment the case comes out. But that was, I think, short-lived because you have to build a culture where writing the cases is a part of your expectations. Harvard colleagues, as you would know, will have to write 1 or 2 cases per year, and this is what is expected from them. So I think if it becomes part of the contract, you can move in that direction. But the question is whether we will be able or have enough force to move in that direction. Overall, I think you are on the right track. I would welcome definitely to have your national database that we can look at, because I think the Indian cases will be more attractive in the future, not necessarily just in the Western world, but I think in other emerging economies in Asia. Especially with so many Indian companies becoming globally powerful, I think that is definitely a chance for you to corner the market and really take the lead. I'm not sure you will take lead from the Harvard for foreseeable future, but who knows, maybe in 30 years you will be the first to sell the cases in the world rather than them. Well, I think that was my 8 minutes. I don't know to what extent I have met your expectations, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions the colleagues might have.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor Zeljko. I think you have made a very, very powerful point. Probably everything has reversed. Older companies are now lost the top 10 position and younger ones are now leading. And whatever, there is a global restructuring is happening. So earlier, everything people used to look towards West. Now the time has come, everybody has to look towards East. So I think very soon, what you are telling, the journey to reverse may start. And another important aspect, I think you made many leaders of the top-notch companies are Indians because they are good at contextuals. So Indians are good at context and maybe Europeans in concept and models. So that is where the context is changing very often. Digital world is a contextual world. And contextual world is always led by Indians. And I'm sure what you made a statement that is going to be holds true and it is going to come true very soon. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So I think distinguished participants and all my panel members, they made a very, very important insights and also remarks. I think each one of them, the kind of points they have given, they are going to be, I must say, they are useful, each one of you, while writing a case, teaching a case, and also making a case note. And second, the case is all about intellectual contribution. As a faculty, one should be, showcase intellectual contribution. But the insights from all the 4 distinguished members with their own way, they have shared their experiences. And I am sure the participant have got a lot of insights. But 1 or 2 things from my side. One is, without knowing the culture, it cannot be, the writing a case, whatever the pages you write, you will not write the culture. Certain things are invisible, intangible, unless until you go and see. You can't see the moral of the people unless until it is written in word 1 or 2 people. So the culture, the value foundation, and the moral of the people, these things, if you write a case in and around your business school, probably that is visible. Seeing is believing, and invisible will become visible, and your decisions are going to be, it is all about decision making, it is all about dilemma. So once you understand those things, the culture, the value, the moral, I think that assumptions, beliefs, so seeing and reading, there is a huge difference. And your decision making, once you see, is going to be more appropriate, more correct. So that is how in India, teaching Indian cases. But the question comes, where is the market? As Professor Zeljko rightly said, where is the market? I must tell you, sir, out of 12,600 and all business schools in the world, 3,400 business schools are in India. We have more market than the cases. So that is why market is not a problem, and India, All India Council for Technical Education and AIMA together, India Case Research has been set up. And the attempt is how to provide the cases in nominal charges to all Indian B schools. Our larger education is in the university system. So market is not going to be an issue. As Dinesh Kumarji rightly said, popular cases, if all Indian B schools, university departments start using the cases, then all our Indian professors' written cases will be a popular cases, irrespective of whether they are popular or not. I must say, because we have a large number. So with this, just I think, Dr. Anuja, if you allow 1 or 2 questions we can take from participants.
Sure, sir, sure.
Okay. So now participants' floor is open. We can restrict the questions because next panel time is already started. So just 1 or 2 questions we can take up, and you can say the question as well as you also point out a question to which panel member. So in the box, any questions are there, ma'am? So meantime, these cases are also part of Government of India's Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliance. So instead of depending on Harvard and spending every year around 150 to 200 crores, I think now the time has come, Indians have to write cases for India, to India, so that our money going back to US, and the US, they should buy our cases. I think the time has come. And our numbers is also more, and that is why AIMA is making attempt, and AICT, I was heading the model curriculum, and we have suggested India-based cases should be promoted in India, so that our business school students should get benefit, and professors should also familiar with our Indian businesses. So that was the purpose, motto. And AIMA, already many cases have been written by AIMA, and business schools are using. Probably very soon, AIMA will come out with a large number of cases, and probably it will be, sent to various business schools in university as well as PG diploma institutions.
So there are few questions in the panel.
Yeah, ma'am. Can you read the question? I think in whom it is written.
So, Soumya, are you going to do that?
Anuja, as I see, there are many people who are sharing their thoughts and comments. Dr. Metri, sir, do you think Indian cases or how Indian organizations are coping up with the current scenario, this learning will be of use to global organizations?
Yeah, I think may I request Professor Dinesh Kumar to answer, because he has written many cases for Akshay Patra as well as many cases for Indian cases, those who have gone to global. Professor Dinesh Kumar?
Yeah, so my colleagues have written many cases related to pandemic. Example, how the supply chain, there was a lot of innovation which was done in supply chain to manage during the initial days of pandemic. In fact, Stanford has a journal called Stanford Innovation on Entrepreneurship. I don't remember the exact name now. So they are going to publish a case written by my colleagues on how Indian e-commerce companies quickly innovated so that they can ensure that the essentials reach every Indian, right? So in fact, there are a lot of learnings from how India managed the pandemic. And there are a lot more cases. In fact, many of these cases are also in the process of writing and getting published and so on. So not only cases, but also journal articles. So probably whoever has asked this question, you can write to me. I can just direct you to the links. And in fact, we have in our portal IMB website, we have links to those articles, right? So there are a lot of cases which have been published, not only by IIM Bangalore, but also there are cases or articles which is coming out of IIM Ahmedabad, ISB, and so on. So yeah, we are doing well, and we are also giving ideas to other countries how to manage the pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dinesh Kumar. Ma'am, next.
Sir, there is a question by Mr. Karan Kapoor, which says, do you think socio-cultural intelligence play an important role in crafting a case?
Yeah, I think Prabhat, can you take this question?
Yeah, we do talk about cultural biases when we are writing cases, but this is one issue that is debated quite a lot. Does it play any role, or should we do something about it? But the question is, people walk on this earth with some baggage, and they have their own cultural context, and which may affect when they are writing the cases. But having said that, it doesn't percolate the merit of the case, or it doesn't demean the merit of the case. It does affect somewhere or the other, but it depends on how you actually present the contour of the cases, how you actually what is the central issue that you are making out of it, and things like that. So cannot be ruled out. The plain answer would be that cannot be ruled out, but it's not a very serious problem that it will jeopardize the purpose of case.
I think, when the new employee joined the company and you are already there 20 years, if you find, these two people, if you compare decision making and cultural understanding, there is a huge gap, because one is in the process of introduction, another one is already known. So definitely it will make a difference, but how much difference it will make, how much delta it will make, that is an issue. So thank you very much. Very good question.
So the last question for this session is, which is a better way of teaching cases? To surface a case first to the students and then explaining the concept involved in it, or the other way around?
Professor Parasuraman, please. I think Parasuraman.
That was briefly touched upon. Yeah. The briefly touched upon by me when I first spoke.
Yeah.
I said, there is one conventional use of cases which they say is that concepts need not be taught as such. It can be situations first and then the concepts. The other approach would be to have concepts first, so that they understand what the basic principles or the basic situations in which various tools have to be used are first given, and then the situation is given to them. I would think that if, generally speaking, from my experience, is that if the concepts are not at all introduced to the students, it becomes very difficult for them. So it becomes necessary for at least a brief understanding about the concepts and what they are. For example, if I'm teaching in finance, they should know what NPV means, what IRR means, and how it is basically calculated before coming to a situation where it is NPV to be used or IRR to be used. So that's something that I'm sure is applicable to other areas as well. But having said that, there's also one thing, the concepts are too narrow in the sense that what happens is they actually framework, they also assume that the facts are always available to us and then come to the conclusions. But in real life, we know that it is difficult to get facts. It is actually also an exercise of collecting facts also are there. So which a case study will probably bring us to. So it actually says that there will be several alternatives. In fact, there's also a classic saying which says that there's no right solution to the case, which means that there are several alternatives possible, several approaches possible. And because of several approaches possible, it is that concepts from here and there have to be laid. So in any case, the instructor has to make sure that the concepts are covered somewhere, either at the beginning, right in the beginning, as I would suggest, or at least in the middle, and not just leave it to the common sense answers of the students.
Thank you, Professor Parasuraman. One question, a faculty who is a pure academic without industry exposure, can he do justice to case study discussion in the class? I think this question is raised by one of the Hullalkar, I think one advocate Hullalkar. But I must say that, you see, there is a place for everyone and everyone has to be in his or in her own place. So when this question was asked, C.K. Prahlad, you are writing bottom, he wrote a bottom of the pyramid and he was asked a question, why can't you become a CEO? You can take the companies to the higher level and you can build so much of wealth and all. He said, probably I may fail if I become a CEO. As a faculty, as a professor, as a management thinker, I can advise, I can do that job better than the CEO. Same way, it is not necessarily faculty have to be work in industry to teach the cases or to become a best faculty. I think it is proven again and again, many times today. Great buildings are built, bridges are built, all engineers, they are taught by professors who never worked in the industry. And similarly for management schools, many of them, so those are the cases, but a lot of professors, they are highly thickly connected with the industry in the form of cases, in the form of internship, and they also visit the company for a number of occasions for consulting and this one. On paper, probably they may not be having the experience of industry, but they know much, much better than the industry person knows. And that is where all the great schools, great professors get a lot of consulting and assignment. I think this has been all over the world. A faculty member, they have done the great job and they will do. And it is, if they have experience, it is good. Even if they don't have, there are ways to get the information and understand and to become the best. So with this, I thank all my panel members, Professor Parasuraman, Professor Dinesh Kumar, Professor Prabhat, and Dr. Zeljko Sevic, all the distinguished panel members. They have done the great job, and thank you very much. Thanks a lot for giving your insight. And also, I must say that India Case Research Center, All India Management Association, it is a small baby. It has taken a baby step and it is first of its kind. Your input, insight, and your association has definitely added value. And we are looking forward to see each one of you, your association, your advice, and your guidance to build India Case Research Center as one of the best centers in the world. And people should be looking towards India Case Research Center when India will take a leadership role for the globe. With this, once again, I thank all the distinguished members and thank you very much.